We continue now at the top of Daf Membeis Amid Beis and Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 42b. On the previous Amid, the Mishnah said that a shutaf and an uman, they cannot make a chazaka. The idea is that a partner, he has access to the property, so him being on the property for a certain amount of time or having the property is not going to create a chazaka. And the same thing with an uman. An uman takes the property in order to work on it. He's a craftsman, and therefore having that property does not create a chazaka. And the Gemara says, Avua de Shmuel v'Levi, the father of Shmuel and Levi, Tanu, the way they learned in our Mishnah was as follows: Shutaf ein lo chazaka, that a partner does not make a chazaka. That's all it said in the Mishnah. V'chol shekein uman, and if you understand that, if a shutaf cannot make a chazaka, it's for sure true by an uman. A craftsman certainly cannot make a chazaka. Again, there's a reason why he has the property. Shmuel Tani, but the way that Shmuel learned the Mishnah was as follows: Uman ein lo chazaka, that a craftsman cannot make a chazaka because it makes sense that he would have the property. Avol shutaf yesh lo chazaka, but a shutaf actually is able to make a chazaka in his partner's property. V'az the Shmuel l'taimi, and Shmuel follows his reasoning. The Yomar Shmuel, because Shmuel says, Hashutfin machzikin zalzeh, shutfin partners can make chazaka one against the other. Umeidin zalzeh, and they're able to testify one against the other. V'nasim shomrei sachar zelazen, when they watch, let's say one of them watches the other partner's items. Let's say they have a partnership in a certain property, so they're like shomrei sachar because they're each watching for the other one. So it's like they're exchanging payment, so to speak. You watch for me, and I'll watch for you, and so therefore they have the status of shomrei sachar and not shomrei chinam. And the Rashbam explains within Shmuel again, an uman is not able to make a chazaka, but a shutaf can make a chazaka. Aval shutaf yesh lo chazaka, the shutaf can make a chazaka. Demisa de lo machar lo chelko, because if it was true that the other partner didn't sell him his portion, hayalo lavod es va'adama v'lechol haperes b'shutfis, they should have been working the land as partners. The fact that only one of them is working the entire thing, that shows that he must have been sold, he must have bought out the other partner, and therefore he can make a chazaka. That's Shmuel's understanding. And then we said again that Shmuel says machzik and zelazeh, they can make chazaka one to the other. Again, it means if one of them is making a chazaka not only in his portion but also in the portion of his friend, of his partner, gimel shana, if that goes on for 3 years, talking about land, have a chazaka, that is going to be a chazaka. What it means is that one can testify on the portion of the other. Let's say to testify for that person's benefit that he should get that property. If somebody from the marketplace is coming to protest, the chiddush over here is he's not considered nogea be'edus. You might say that he has a self-interest over here. That's not what we consider it, as we'll explain later on. And also v'nasin k'shomrei sachar zelazeh, they're like shomrei sachar, one for the other, meaning shemi beis echad mehen nignav davar shel shutfis. Let's say there's something that they have in partnership, and one of them is watching it get stolen. Chayev l'shalim k'shomrei sachar, he has to pay for it like a shomer sachar. V'zeu sacharu, and the wages are shagam chaveru yishmar hakol k'shir zman shemeshamer za'achshav, that his friend, his partner, is going to watch everything for the same amount of time that he watches everything. That's the idea of a partnership. And the Gemara continues, Rami le Rabbi Abba le Rav Yehuda b'ma'arta devei Rav Zakkai. Rabbi Abba, he said the following contradiction to Rav Yehuda in the cave of the yeshiva of Rav Zakkai. Some people have the girsa not b'ma'arta, but b'matzarta, which would be the winery of Bei Rav Zakkai. In any case, he had the following contradiction. Miyomar Shmuel, did Shmuel really say shutaf yesh lo chazaka, that a partner can make a chazaka? V'amar Shmuel, but Shmuel said shutaf ki yored b'rishus dami, that a shutaf is like somebody, when he goes to the other partner's property, it's like he's going with permission. He's going into that person's property with permission. And the idea is if he has permission to be there, he can't make a chazaka. So lav l'meimra, the shutaf ain't lo chazaka. Doesn't that mean to say that a shutaf is not able to make a chazaka? So which one is it? Is the shutaf able to make a chazaka? Is not able to make a chazaka? And the Rashbam over here says, V'amar Shmuel shutaf shemachzik b'chol hasadeh, means a shutaf is making a chazaka in the whole field. Gam b'chelko shel chaveru, also in the portion of his friend. Ki yored b'rishus dami, it's like he has permission. Kilomar ki'ilu nasan lo chaveru rishus, it's as if the partner actually gave him permission. V'tzivo lios b'makom, and told him to take his place. Kidin oris dami, like a sharecropper. Lav l'meimer, the shutaf ein lo chazaka. Doesn't that mean to say that a shutaf does not make a chazaka? The havikar is like a sharecropper. She yored b'rishus, who's descending with permission. Ulakach lo havichazkaso chazaka. That's why his chazaka is not a good chazaka. Ulakamon mefarish dakati l'shar devarim kamar Shmuel ki yored b'rishus dami. The Gemara later is going to explain that there's other issues also when we talk about the idea that he's a yored b'rishus. I mean, the lo kamar behed yeshutaf ein lo chazaka, because you could have just said simply, you could have said explicitly that a shutaf doesn't make a chazaka. So yored b'rishus is adding some information, but the point over here is, isn't that at least also saying that a shutaf is not able to make a chazaka? So that seems to be a contradiction within Shmuel. And the Gemara answers, lo kash, it's not difficult. Hadin nachis lakula. In one case, we're talking about where the shutuf is going on the whole property, and hadin nachis lapalga. In the other case, we're talking where he's going on half the property. And the Gemara says, Amri lalahai gisa v'amri lalahai gisa. Some say it goes in this direction, some say it goes in the other direction, meaning it's not 100% clear which one of them is able to make a chazaka. There's logic to both. The idea, let's say, by nachis lakula is he's going on the entire property, so really the shutuf really has permission only for his own part of the property. If he's working the entire property, maybe that's not something that's exactly normal for the shutuf to be doing, and therefore it is establishing a chazaka. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is on the contrary. If he goes on all the property, the idea is that they're going to alternate years. So this one will be working it for a few years, the other one a few years, and maybe there's no chazaka by lakula, but maybe by lapalga, let's say the property, some of it is really good property and some of it is not as good as inferior, and let's say he's going to the better property, he's taking that half the entire time, so that wouldn't be a normal way to divide, so that would be an indication that he is actually making a chazaka. And the Gemara continues with another answer. Ravina says, you could say hava hadanachis lakula. Could be that in both cases the shutuf is working the entire property. So the question is again, why in some cases does he make a chazaka, some cases he doesn't? Velokash, it's not difficult. Had isba din chaluk. In one case, the property is large enough that in theory it could be easily divided. And so the fact that they're not dividing it, the fact that he's working the whole property is an indication that he really is the owner. He can establish a chazaka. But the less but in chaluk. In the other case, we're talking where the property is so small, it's not something you would normally divide. So it would be normal to work the whole property in alternating years. And so therefore, just going on the entire property is not going to be enough to establish a chazaka. And the Gemara continues, Gufa, returning to what we said above. Amar Shmuel says, Shutuf ki yored b'reshus dami, that a shutuf, when he uses the property, it's like he has permission to descend to the property. And the Gemara says, my kama Ashmul, and what is Shmuel teaching us with this? Shutuf ein lo chazaka, like we said, that a shutuf is there with permission and therefore he can't make a chazaka. But if that's all he's teaching us, lema, so then just say shutuf ein lo chazaka, that a shutuf does not have a chazaka. And the Gemara answers, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba bar Avua. Rav Nachman says that Rabba bar Avua says what it means when we say that a shutuf is kiyored b'reshus. There's a difference if somebody goes into a field and works the field without permission, and if a person goes into a field and works the field with permission. And the difference is essentially that if a person goes ahead and works a field without permission, so he is entitled to some compensation, but basically, more or less, his yado ala tachtona, he has the lower hand in terms of negotiating, so he might get the lesser amount, let's say it might be his expenses, or whatever the lesser amount is, that's going to be by yored shelo b'reshus. But if somebody is working a field with permission, so he really gets the upper hand, so to speak, in terms of his compensation, that's what the Gemara now answers. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba bar Avua. Rav Nachman says that Rabba bar Avua says, what's the idea that he has permission? Lomar means to say, shenotel b'shevach hamagia l'chsafayim b'sada she'eno asuyalita kesada asuyalita, means to say that he can get the shevach hamagia l'chsafayim, which basically means, let's say he goes in and works a field, and you have improvements of the field that are ripe or are almost ripe, they're basically already ripe, so normally you're only going to get that in a sada asuyalita, means to say a field that you normally would plant with trees, and so the person goes in there and he plants trees, which is normal to be expected. The owner would have done that. In such a situation, even somebody that goes in with no permission, but we basically say he doesn't get the lower hand in that situation because he's doing exactly what we expect the owner would have done. The owner would have hired a sharecropper to do exactly this, so he can take like a sharecropper, he can even get the shevach hamagia l'chsafayim if it's asuyalita. But in the case of a shutaf, even if it's a sada she'eno asuyalita, let's say it's a field that normally you wouldn't plant with trees, and so in that case, if someone goes in with no permission, he's going to have the lower hand, yado ala tachtona, because he's doing something to the field that the owner might not have been doing with that field. But in this case, by a shutaf, it's considered to be with permission, and therefore we treat it just like a sada hasuyalita. He even gets the shevach hamagia l'chsafayim. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, so me'idin zelaz, that one partner can testify for the other partner, and we will take a look at the Rashbam. Lomar shenotel kidin oris sheyored b'reshus. It means that the partner gets to take like a sharecropper who goes with permission. Afilu b'shevach hamagia l'chsafayim, even by the shevach hamagia l'chsafayim means gemar piri, meaning even when something is ripe, when the produce is ripe, kagon kamo liktzor v'anavim liftzor, for example, stalks that are ready to be harvested or grapes that are ready to be harvested. Notel kol hachatzi kidin arisa yir. He takes the full half that is entitled to a sharecropper of the city. Ve'afilu hu sada she'enu asuyalita, even if this is a field that you normally wouldn't plant. El Lizriel, let's say it's a one that you would have put seeds in, you want to put trees. V'notan, he plants trees. Hu notel kol adino, he gets everything like a sharecropper. Ki'ilu asuyalita, as if this was a field that was meant to be planted. Kedin hayored b'reshus, like anyone who goes and works a field with permission. Te'ilu yored shelo b'reshus, because when we're talking about someone who does not have permission to work a field, field. Shamin lo v'yadav ala tachtona. There, in terms of what he collects from that field, he always has the lower hand. Means to say, demashevach yesar al yitzia. If the improvement is more than what was spent, no til yitzia, he takes what was spent. V'im hayitzia yesar al shvach, no til yitzia. And if what's spent is more than the improvement, he gets what was spent. Shir shevach, the amount of the improvement, meaning you're always going to get the amount spent according to the value of the improvement, because again, in this case, the yitzia is more than the shevach, so you're only going to get up to the value of the shevach. Kedamar b'Bava Metzia ba'ashoa, like we say in Bava Metzia, hayorid l'soch tzad chaveiro v'nanta shelo b'rishus amarav shaman lo v'yadu ala tachtona. That's what we say over there. Without permission, you get the lower hand. U'shmuel omer omdim kam adam rotzalita nasada zulita. Shmuel has an evaluation. V'yomer Papa says lo pligi. They're not arguing. Kan besado asuyilita, kan besado shein asuyilita. Depends if it's a field that normally would be planted or a field that wouldn't be planted. V'hach, and the point over here is chashav la'ishutav kiyor b'rishus. The partner is considered like he has permission. V'hilkach shakil besado shein asuyilita kasada asuyilita. Therefore, he takes even in a field that's not meant to be planted, just like it was meant to be planted. If Shmuel had only said that a shutaf can't make a chazaka, I would think he has the lower hand. Since he went without permission, that's why he's saying he's considered like a yored b'rishus. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph.